Hi, I'm Hans Anders, an associate here at Claremont Creek Ventures in Oakland, California, an early-stage energy technology venture capital firm. I'm here today to interview our partner, Nat Goldhaber, on behalf of the 2012 Burke Energy Symposium, in regards to a study on North American energy independence. Nat is the resident energy expert here at Claremont Creek and has invested in such energy pioneers as EcoFactor and Clean Power Finance. Thank you, Nat, for being with us here today.
It's a pleasure, and I have to admit it was very easy to get here since we're sitting in our office.
The idea of energy independence has captured the country for decades. I'm wondering why a venture capital firm like us is so interested in this.
Well, why are we? You tell me. No. The answer to that question is interesting. So we are in the business of helping young entrepreneurs with great ideas turn those great ideas into great companies. And part of our job is to roll up our sleeves and work alongside the entrepreneurs to make sure that that comes true. It is frequently the case that we lose sight of the forest for the trees. And so I thought it would be a very useful exercise to try to step back from that day-to-day activity and take a look from a macro standpoint at some of the major forces in energy in the world and in the United States.
So how did you go about doing this?
Well, we were very happy to do what we always do, call in an MBA, like you. In this case, we called on your alma mater, the University of Michigan, and we worked with several MBAs at the University of Michigan from the Herb Center who are experts in sustainability, and particularly with reference to transportation. So they helped us in the development of this study. I also wanted to just add a couple of things. It is important to look at this issue for the United States. I'm a big believer in Adam Smith, and that there is that invisible hand that does help to understand how economies work and helps correct economies and bring markets to equilibrium. However, it requires free markets in order for that to work, and energy is anything but a free market. Every aspect of energy is controlled by some entity of government or some business cartel. In electrical energy, the public utility commissions make the decisions about how much energy ought to cost. The Federal Energy Regulatory Commission in Washington makes decisions about how energy travels across interstate boundaries. And of course, the mother of all organizations, OPEC, makes all decisions about the price and quantity available of petroleum. So it ain't a free market. And so it's extremely important for us to understand and for us to maintain a true global independence where we can do what we want without the tyranny of despots telling us that they will withhold our energy if we don't change our foreign policy, or simply playing with our economy in order to boost their own sales. We need to understand how to become energy independent.
So then how reliant are we on imports? I mean, what is the gap between consumption and production in this country?
Well, if you take a look at our first chart, you can see that the gap is approximately 13%, surprisingly small. That gap is the gap in 2025 as currently projected, with increases in domestic production and increases in efficiency. So we have to account for roughly a 13% gap if we want to achieve energy independence. If you take a look at the second slide, you can see that the most vulnerable area for domestic energy is in the importation of liquid petroleum. That, in fact, is a larger gap. It's a 37% gap, but it is really mostly liquid petroleum that is our shortfall. And if you take a look at the countries that provide energy to us, you can see that all of the rest of the world is, by 2025, all of the rest of the world is about 66.33% of our energy imports, and Canada is a third of our energy imports. Now, for the purposes of this study, we have just assumed that Canada, our loyal neighbor to the north, our friends, geographically proximate, and the Canadians will hate me for saying this, we've just assumed that they were really just part of the United States. And so when we are looking at energy independence, we are assuming it's the United States and Canada together, which, by the way, interestingly enough, the United States and Canada together have greater energy, petroleum supplies than Saudi Arabia does. And the United States alone is the third largest producer of petroleum in the world after Russia and Saudi Arabia.
Huh. I don't think many people know that. So can it be done? I mean, can we achieve independence by 2025? What do we need to do?
Well, I think it can be done. And if you take a look at the last chart, you will see that there are specific areas that we can address that will enable us to get to significant energy independence. First of all, let's take a look at our freight, the heavy freight trucking industry. We are able, with a change to the trucking fuel mix, roughly a third of trucks, if they were to switch to natural gas, which we have domestically in abundance and continue to find more and more, we would be able to displace roughly 2.2 quadrillion British thermal units of energy that we had previously been importing. Our goal is to displace 10 quads. So we get almost a quarter of it by switching our trucking fleet, a third of our trucking fleet, over to natural gas. If we were to switch some of our light vehicles, small trucks, and a few of the passenger cars, we could achieve roughly a 22% penetration over to natural gas. It would give us an additional 4 quads of saving towards our goal of 10. If we get a 10% penetration, and by the way, I think we can do a lot better than that, of electrical vehicles, we would get an additional 1 3/4 quad of energy savings towards energy independence. I wanted to just say one quick thing about electric vehicles. I'm very optimistic about higher penetrations of electric vehicles. I heard just yesterday in a conference that battery technology is getting down to $200 per kilowatt hour of capacity in an energy pack, and that there's every likelihood that within a few years we'll be at $150. Now, at $150, you can build an EV that is on parity with an internal combustion engine. That is, they cost the same as a car with an internal combustion engine. And by the way, the Canadians in 2025 will have about 5 quads of excess capacity. Now, that may go to China, but we should speak now and say, yes, Canadians, we would love to import your oil, and that additional 5 quads, together with the other savings that I just mentioned, would equal almost 13 quads. That's 3 quads more than we need to achieve full energy independence. So I'm very bullish on our ability to do it without terrible disruption to our way of life or severe economic hardship.
So how can Claremont Creek help? I mean, what can we do to get our entrepreneurs and as investors, how can we contribute to this?
Well, we can make a lot of noise, which I love to do, and try and tell people this story. But as early stage venture capitalists, what we can do is look for those capital efficient business models that allow the savings of energy. For example, EcoFactor, which you mentioned earlier, is a company which with no more than a communicating thermostat is able to save up to 20% of the heating and air conditioning costs in a home. That's the kind of investment which we like to make. IT intensive, using computers and computer technology in order to be able to save significant energy. And that's what we do at Claremont Creek, and hopefully we'll continue to do it for a long time to come.
Well, thank you, Nat. I definitely learned something throughout all of this. I hope you did as well. Thanks to the University of Michigan for their assistance with the study, as well as to Burke for providing a forum, as well as for the upcoming symposium. We look forward to that, and thank you.